And now, your official TigerBait live show with Mike Scarborough and Buddy Songy starts now.
All right, welcome in another edition of TigerBait Live. Mike Scarborough with Buddy Songy. A lot to discuss tonight. Auburn coming into town, 6 o'clock kickoff, ESPN. Tessitore and Jordan Palmer with the call on ESPN. And got a little rain today, but I think we're going to have some nice, cool temperatures. And should be a great night in Tiger Stadium. Obviously, everybody's clamoring for a home game. It's a sellout. It seems like it's been forever since LSU had that game down to the wire with the Hogs in Tiger Stadium. So it's going to be a big one this weekend, big in recruiting. We're going to talk about that on the show tonight. And anything else that you guys want to talk about, we'll be putting your chat comments up on the screen and mingling with you guys. So welcome in, buddy.
Good to see you, Mike Scarborough, publisher of TigerBait.com. Been doing it a long time. It is hard to believe, Mike, we are at the halfway point. And, you know, some of us have good memories, some of us have short memories. But last year at this time, LSU had just been embarrassed by Tennessee. And, oh, by the way, they woke up and started playing Harold Perkins, and the rest is history. So now we're hoping to see if they can flip that switch, get appreciably better on defense. Mason Smith, we put an APB out on him. Finally saw him, finally played like the guy that throws empty Coke cans around. Finally got a couple of picks, +2 in the turnover ratio, hoping the defense gets better each week. And, man, this is some offense that probably all time is second only to 2019. Back end of the season, let's see if the Tigers can get hot and do what they did last year.
I just have a feeling that this might be one of the more complete games that LSU has this week. I had a few exchanges with a couple of guys I know that cover Auburn today, and they don't have a good feeling about Auburn's chances. And in fact, some of them think it's could very well be a blowout for LSU. They had an open date. Let's see what they've gotten done. I know they're gotten a little bit healthier. A running back's going to be ready to go. They gave George all they wanted before that. Well coached, but you know, as bad as LSU's DBs are, I don't know that Auburn has the wide receivers to take advantage of it. And if LSU's defensive line picks up where it did last week in Missouri, and they did look better, I think it could be a really nice night for LSU.
Got to start faster. LSU once again in a hole. 5 times that Brian Kelly and LSU have won in a year and a half. They have come back from deficits, including a bunch this year, 17-3 down to Arkansas or whatever it was, and then scored right before half. And again, 22-7 last time. Jaden Daniels, look, if you want, got to say something about that young man. He is a tough son of a gun. You and I were talking about 19 in those days, and numbers will never be relived, but very similar parallels in what Burrow did, improving to 18-19 versus Jaden Daniels has done 22-23. Not many people thought he'd make the progression. And so now you got to see if that offense can carry him. But if they get behind in this Auburn game, which has struggled on offense, you know it's a bad sign. I'm with you. I think LSU plays their most complete game, starts quicker, and obviously want to see more sacks, TFLs, and more aggression on the defense.
Yeah, I admittedly don't watch a lot of ESPN. I haven't seen any recent NFL draft updates, but I've got to believe that Jaden Daniels has got a lot of eyes open, and I think he's setting the stage to make a lot of money at the next level with what he's doing right now, and good for him. Hey, Mike and Buddy, I think the fans should be patient with BK. He's only in year 2. I predicted a 9-3 season. Hey, Buddy, do you think the scheme the defense runs reflects their skill level and talent?
And who is that?
That's James Moore.
James Moore. Good to see you, James Moore. Well, first of all, I think that we talked about this at the beginning of the year. The brain plays crazy tricks. Coach Mulkey did it in year 2. Jay Johnson did it in year 2. When Saban did it relatively early, Les, all that, you just expect it, seeing that the last three coaches at LSU football have won natties. So, because of what they did last year, that got kicked up a notch, and the expectations are a little quicker. But from a defensive standpoint, I'm really in a good mood, and I don't want to get too critical, but are you effing kidding me? You got to have Pete Jenkins to come in and tell you to line up and get in that guy's face so you can actually bust his ass on defense a yard and a half out from the line of scrimmage. Got to figure out how Perkins can be more of a pass rusher. He's got 2 sacks. LSU has 11 sacks. I think it's a combination. You can't put it all on the players, but man, some of this fundamental coaching that we've seen this year has left a little bit to be desired, in my opinion, especially defensively.
Guys, if you're enjoying the show, please hit that like button. Again, as always, this show is brought to you by our title sponsor each and every week, Pride Roofing. We're going to talk about them a little bit later in the show, but the official roofing company of TigerBait.com and Pride Roofing, nobody does it better. But hit that like button if you're enjoying the show, and share it out to your social media and let your fellow LSU fans know about us going live. And we're going to do it till about 9 o'clock. Guy Brooks, I'm ready for everything LSU football. Go Tigers. Paul Dugas, I'm worried about Auburn controlling the clock with their run game. That's what Hugh Freeze said Monday in his presser, that's what he wants to do. He said their defense is good and can create turnovers.
I think I saw their offense. Their defense is ranked about 25 in yardage, LSU 121. Look, last year, this same scenario played out. That's why I'm trying to connect the dots here. It took that team last year 6 games before they started to find their roles and their niches. And you got a lot of young guys. Back to that question from James, what do you think? I think scheme has not helped them, but let's just be honest. This has been a team that has tackled poorly. And when you want to have that moniker of DBU, you got to make some progress in that area in the next year and a half.
I think there's so many things that are as to why this defense is struggling. It's Jims and Joes. It's not having a true defensive line coach. And I wonder, even with all that, I wonder if maybe they're running a little bit of a deal, kind of like Dave Aranda realized that they needed to simplify things. That maybe they're trying to do too much and need to pull back and be a lot more simple. Dave Aranda ran into that. It seems like every defensive coordinator at LSU, after a while, and they get here and they're in year 2 or year 3, and a lot of them will say, well, in the second year I've got 2/3 of my defense installed, and by year 3 it's really but it always seems like they hit a certain point where they realize we're not flowing to the ball, it's not natural, and they basically got to simplify things because these guys just don't grasp it. And
well, the reason I mentioned Perkins last year at this point, is it going to be Ryan Yates? Is it going to be Ashton Stamps? Is it going to be Jeremiah Hughes? Is it going to be Javion Toviano, who I thought was going to be more in the mix? All of those guys have already played enough, so their red shirts are burned. Jackson Howard has not burned his red shirt this year. Neither is Shelton Sampson. So I'm watching some of this stuff. But all these DBs, somebody's got to step up, Mike, like Perkins did last year, and give them a little depth. And kudos to Major Burns for getting the pick 6. Mike and I discussed it on the show today. As browbeaten and beat up as that defense has been all year, it's good to see a little positive stuff at the end of the game.
Absolutely.
And I didn't have I don't bet on the games. I'm not smart enough to win betting, but can you imagine, Mike? This is why they call it gambling. Can you imagine those poor fools souls had Missouri plus 5.5? Oh, they had to go crazy.
Well, that was part of the deal. BK didn't want him to score, but anybody who had any money on the game was glad that he did. Andy Whitaker says, I think LSU dominates this game 45-23. Andy, I don't know that I have the same score as you, but I do have a feeling that LSU really does put it together, and it's going to be a good game Saturday night. I just think this team is so ready for a home game, And I think there's some things that to be built upon in Columbia. And I think it's going to be a great night in Tiger Stadium.
LSU's won 8 of the last night games, and BK is 6-0 in Tiger Stadium on Saturday night.
Mark J, home crowd will be a real advantage this weekend. LSU 38-17. So that's another big one. Thank you for that, Mark J. Hugh Freeze doesn't even think they have a chance. Yeah, he was doing the poor mouth. He was doing the Lou Holtz, Joe Paterno thing pretty good Monday in his press conference.
Hide your black books, guys, that you had with the rainy day girls. All kidding aside, Hugh Freeze, there was a lot of talk, Mike, that the commissioner didn't want him coming into the SEC for a while. A lot of people tried to hire him. He's over at Auburn now. They flirted with Lane Kiffin. I think it's going to take him a couple years. But, by the way, in case you haven't realized it, next year they're not on the schedule. First time in 32 years, Mike.
Let me scroll back up. I had it on the screen. Bart's comment. How bad are SEC officials?
I think that you hear players betting on games. You hear the Alabama baseball coach betting on games. I'm not lying. This is not a homer comment. That was pathetic. And somebody ought to be up in the frickin' booth when Jaden Daniels is 2 yards in the end zone, beeping down and say, throw the flag, challenge.
Well, I do think when you hear about the dollars and the TV contracts and this,
they were pitiful, Mike.
I just don't understand why the SEC is not gotten to the point where officials are full-time employees. I really don't understand it.
But that's another story. Look, the bottom line is
but that's how you get back.
They jumped at the 1 yard line. It would have taken them back to the 6. Pimpton had a ridiculous hold call. Missouri was holding all day long. They missed some calls on both teams. But when you get in the end zone 2 yards and you don't challenge that, if that happens against Alabama, somebody better be sending it. He's in the zone, challenge the frickin' call. I thought it was the worst officiated game I saw all year, in my opinion.
Yeah. Max says Auburn will expose our run defense and lack of gap integrity. Well, I think that's going to be better. I think part of that we saw that was a bit better from what Pete Jenkins is already did in 1 week. So let's see what happens. Cajun 5, Mike, don't you agree that steeples is a primary issue with the LSU secondary? I'm not going to say that. But look, BK certainly is going to look at everything in the offseason. There's a Jims and Joe's issue. And I just really think between the high school class and what you're going to try and do in the portal, Buddy just rattled off a bunch of guys who are redshirt freshmen and newcomers that we'd like to see a little bit more of. But I really think you need to recruit that position. Like everything you've got there isn't going to get the job done.
And this year you have to outscore people, but you got to fix the defense for next year because there's no Jaden Daniels, there's no Malik Neighbors, and there's no Brian Thomas Jr. next year. That is going to take a hit on offense.
What have we seen at LSU in the last 20 years? Think of all the great true freshman corners and safeties that have immediately come in and played. So as bad as these DBs are, if these true freshmen that are behind them can't get on the field or win a starting spot, what does that say? That's the one spot on the field where true freshmen can come in and be first team all SEC.
Unless they don't know the defense and the defense is too complicated.
We can rattle off a dozen of them who have been incredible.
But most of these guys thinking they're coming in, playing press, and they're having to sit back 7 yards off the line of scrimmage and play zone. And I think that this is, by the way, in case you missed it, Coach said it Monday, they played man-to-man 3 early times, and they got torched, and so they went back to zone. So, it's a combination. It's not an easy fix, but what I'm saying is that this year, with the unbelievable offense, you can get away with it and outscore people. Next year, you got to be appreciably better on defense, not having all that offensive firepower.
Absolutely. Let's go down here. Dane Bergeron with a good evening, Mike and Buddy. Glad to see you. All right. Mike, should Mississippi State fire their coach? You think BK goes after him as a defensive coordinator?
Who's that?
Mississippi State. Yeah, I'm not seeing that. People were getting after me in the post game Saturday. Thought I was crazy that I didn't think Matt House was going to be cut loose at the end of the season. I'm not seeing that.
I don't either. I mean, it's not just money, but I think Coach Kelly has confidence in him and Mike Denbrock. And look, fans want to fire people. I keep hearing Dave Aranda. Dave Aranda is the head coach at Baylor. He's not coming back to Baton Rouge to be the DC. Been there, done that. His family loved it, but they were ready to go. I think what you have to do is get Matt House a little more acclimated to playing what these kids want to play. They don't want to play zone. Did you see Alabama, Texas A&M? They had 5 stars and they were all getting after the quarterback. I think both teams had 5 sacks. You got to be more aggressive. And House, for some reason, it takes time for him to be more aggressive. This time last year is when Harold Perkins got inserted into the lineup and they started going after the quarterback. I don't know if they'll do it again, but I think that soft ass zone is just not what you should be playing in SEC.
Jeff Garman, need to find a full-time defensive line coach when the season is over who can develop and recruit. Look, we've been posting a lot of video on TigerBait that we've been out shooting at high school games. Put up some of Demarion Johnson from Westgate earlier tonight. And man, I that is such a worry position. I was on Buddy's show earlier today. And I know it sounds negative, but to me, that is a huge worry, and I don't see how they can sugarcoat what they've got to get done, and how the dominoes have to fall right for them, because that whole position has to be reworked.
And they're being negatively recruited because I think it's eight years of different D-line coach.
The problem is it's not like there's 4 or 5 really strong defensive linemen in the state of Louisiana this year. You've got Relaford coming in this weekend, committed to A&M, and I think they've got a real good shot at flipping him. I think Johnson is a 3-star, and rightfully so. I haven't seen anything on film that makes me think he's underrated, and is going to come in here and be a guy right off the bat. He's going to need some work. So, look, man, the Jimmy Lindsay medical situation has really, I think, hurt them.
But I mean, they've had 7 or 8 different coaches in the last 7 or 8 years on the defensive line, if you know.
Yeah,
and that is being negatively.
I think the only way you can really get out of that bind is if you just go crazy with NIL dollars, and that's not going to happen. Yeah. I mean, we just go out and outspend people, and you can overcome the negative recruiting of everybody asking kids, well, who's going to coach you on the defensive line at LSU?
Well, and you got to put people in the pros. And BJ did get drafted. I didn't keep up with Ali Gay. Jaqueline Roy got drafted. But, I mean, we're not talking about first-round picks, Mike.
Targeting on the pod, Mike and Buddy, keep up the great work. Do you feel like when Spates comes back, he should sub with Penn over Weeks? All I know is that Weeks should stay on the field and never come off.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm a Weeks fan, and I think he plays 100%. That's the kind of player I want to see on LSU's defense, Mike. He never stops. Yeah, he might make a mistake, but it's always full speed. And would like to see him blitzing a little bit, like to see more blitzing, like to see more aggression. Is this the worst tackling secondary? And I know it's only halfway through.
Well, I mean, you look at 20. I mean,
yeah,
that was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they have a chance to be. I mean, the fact of the matter is, we've been using the word atrocious, despicable, everything that's a negative adjective to describe this putrid. If they could just get to poor and mediocre, that's all you need. They just have to get to poor and mediocre with this LSU offense. You can beat anybody left on the schedule.
Look, we want to tell the real deal. They're 121 in total defense. They're in the hundreds on 3rd down and 4th down.
they get to below average, I mean, who knows what can happen?
Well, but I'm saying the stats have proven they're giving up 445 yards a game. So, look, it has been an up and down. Look, this is one of the things I talked about, Mike, and I think it's finally coming to fruition this last game. And I hate to say it this way, this defense is so bad that on offense, you almost have to run the football more to run the clock. And I think that you've got to shorten the game anytime that you can. And, oh, by the way, Logan Diggs, what a great season. But I'm with you. It's time to see Caleb Jackson get a little action running the football and not just on kickoffs. Josh Williams
I can see Caleb Jackson running down the field and losing his shoe.
And, of course, along those lines, I'll let you.
Yeah, the next night, I'm going to give Jock a plug at him and Darren DeQuano. 10 o'clock Sunday night. Don't forget that Cecil Collins documentary is going to roll on AFB. And I'm going to have Jacques and Darren on tomorrow. We're going to do a little, I don't know if we're going to post it live. We might go live or we may just record it, but it'll be on our YouTube channel tomorrow at some point. We're figuring out what time to do it. But we're going to talk about those guys been working for 2 years to put that documentary together. And it's bordering on, I've seen a good bit of it. They've shown me some of it, and it really is like Netflix quality. I mean, they've won a lot of Emmys, those two together, and I think they got a chance again.
And for the young Tiger fans that don't know about Cecil Collins, you will see a guy who potentially could have been the greatest running back of all. And in fact, because of his stature and his speed, Caleb Jackson could be a little combination of Cecil Collins and Leonard Fournette. But I don't know if I've seen him run the football since he bowled over somebody against Mississippi State. I mean, I know Diggs is a hot guy, but if you wear him out and he gets hurt, then you got a bunch of guys that haven't been toting the football.
I'm good with
Caleb's got to get some.
Yeah,
carries.
I mean, second quarter, third quarter. But have him running north-south.
Yeah.
Don't throw it to him when you need a third, on 1st and 10 and you're still trading scores. All right. Let's see.
20 and 22 this week in the polls, folks. They'd moved up a little bit. If you get by Auburn and Army, they're going to be double-digit favorites in both those games. I think Auburn's 11.5. I'm not sure which way the line will go. But, Mike, you take care of business, then you got 2 weeks to get ready to play a very beatable Alabama team, although they are getting better each week. That's what I think the LSU fans want. Can LSU get better every week of the season moving forward?
Absolutely. Let's hear from Mike and Alex.
Hey, it's Michael and Alex again with Pride Roofing. Here we grow again. Did your roof get denied during Hurricane Ida?
The insurance company is playing game with you.
Don't forget, August 29th is your 2-year anniversary to make a claim.
Your neighbor got new roof. Why not you?
Pay your deductible. We're fortified, certified.
We do your roof. You came on the Pride umbrella. Bet on Pride.
855
Pride 16.
There it is. Mike Faraday, Alex Martinez with Pride Roofing, the official roofing company of TigerBait.com. Give them a call, 855-PRIDE-16. Tell them you heard about them on TigerBait, and they're going to pay for you to have TigerBait Premium free for a year. That's a $99 value, and they're footing the bill for it if you give them a call. So there's no obligation. You're getting a free roof inspection and free TigerBait just by saying TigerBait. And, of course, that's anywhere in South Louisiana. Real big in Houma now. New location set up office on Government Street, of course, based in a brand new location in Hammond, and really huge on the North Shore. And any of your roofing needs, commercial, residential, they've got it for you.
Mike and Alex want to personally thank all of you guys, PFM and James and a bunch of other guys that you've sent over, I've sent over. Look, we talk about it. We mentioned it right when they started sponsoring the show. You're going to take great pride in the job they do and great pride in the LSU athletics. Little did we know when we started talking about that, Coach Mulkey, by the way, it's his favorite coach right now. It's his favorite season coming up here in about 2 weeks. And then Jay Johnson, winning natties. But you take great pride when LSU wins the national championship. And you will take great pride. PFM, we know the deal. We've talked about it over and over. They got there early. They did the job. He referred people. That's the way this business works. If you do a great job, They're going to get references and all over South Louisiana. Don't forget Metal Rouge, very hot. Baton Rouge, Mike Kirby, 275-2041. Anywhere else, 855-PRIDE-16.
American Patriot with a super stud. Jocks has been putting out good content. He's been putting out a lot of great content as well. And also want to give a shout out to Steve Snyder. Tomorrow is last day at WAFB. And, you're talking about a guy who goes back to the mid 80s. And if you're of any age, you remember Jefferson Pilot basketball. He did some of those. And Steve's one of the good guys and much fun and good health in his retirement years.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Steve-O. And I tell you what, if you're upcoming sports journalist, Bree Anders just got a gig over at Channel 2 with Cobble in the last couple of weeks. But Steve, enjoy your retirement. And look, I probably should be at the couch and the house in the rocking chair, but I still enjoy it, Mike. And as long as LSU is doing great things, it's a lot more fun to cover than I've said this often. If F. King Alexander and Joe Lever were here, I'd be back at the house.
American Patriot, thank you for that super chat. James, Rick Cluitti had a similar comment to James right here earlier. Mike, LSU recruiting seems to be focused right now on the 25 class. Where is this team leaning on the 24 class? Look, I think there's a lot of people who are wringing their hands and getting a little worried about the 24 class. It does look like that maybe there's some B and C guys that might be added to this thing. But I do think that there are some guys on the board that can make this thing a top 10 class and a little bit better off in the team rankings, which is, I mean, it's important for perception and all that, but it's going to be a big recruiting weekend at LSU. And obviously you mentioned 25, looking to be an emphasis. That's everywhere. When you're at this point of the fall of that recruiting year, your following year's class is because you're over 20 commitments, you're at 24 right now. So when you start looking at what's left on the board, how many they're going to sign, what they're going to need to do in the portal, there is going to be a major emphasis on 25. So you got Bryce Underwood and his wide receiver coming in. You got Harlan Berry from St. Martin's Episcopal, and many others. They got a lot of the commitments coming in. DeCorian Moore, you asked me about him earlier. He is coming in. LSU's wide receiver commit for 25 that Texas is going to try and flip really hard. And I think there's going to be some others. We're reaching out to a bunch of recruits, but it's going to be a big weekend in recruiting. And stay tuned. I posted the list on our Tiger Den message board. It's push pinned, and we're going to have some updates on that in the next day or two.
And the good thing about it, Mike, is what we said last week is that it is unlimited signees as long as you don't exceed 85. So what you don't get from high school recruits, and you and I talked about this, I know Coach Kelly's mentioned it. Yeah, he'd like to get more high school recruits in here. But look, if you hadn't watched LSU football, you got to take every great DB. You probably got to take another quarterback. You and I were talking about that now. I mean, you've got to restock. Also, in case you missed it, Charlie Baker is the NCAA president. They are trying to tweak NIL, and we'll see if that has any impact. Obviously, can the NCAA legislate and enforce? In case you missed it, Bill Self in Kansas gave him a big FU, and he got off scot-free today. I don't know if you saw
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, they had some victories vacated, but basically Kansas gave him a lifetime contract. I know the LSU basketball fans were not happy with the way Will Wade's situation was handled.
Well, I think Matt McMahon's starting to surprise some people.
He's going to be much better.
I like what they've got going in recruiting right now.
I think he'll be much better this year.
Brandon Greer with a super chat, 1999. Big thanks for that, Brandon. How much credit do you give Pete? And if you do, then how bad does it take BK for just saying he should have done that? Well, I mean, look, man, immediately when Lindsey, ends up in the hospital and you start wondering, okay, well, who's going to coach defensive line? And then you go look at Jancic's resume and you say, well, he's never coached that position. And BK admits last week that he should have done it sooner with Pete. And that wasn't Jancic's forte. Well, that was obvious to everybody 2 months ago. So I think BK absolutely should be, I don't know if he wants to use the word criticize, but that's a valid, deal right there. I just don't know what and look, we've got multiple Tigers that you got to keep in your thoughts and prayers. It's Jimmy Lindsay and Greg Brooks, and moved Brooks to Children's Hospital at St. Jude's in Memphis, and we haven't gotten an update on Jimmy Lindsay in a while, and so he's in our thoughts and prayers. Looks like he's out extending scholarship offers, so he's doing some work from home. So, what is his prognosis? Is he going to be on a sideline next year? What are we looking at? And these are all tough decisions that Brian Kelly's going to have to make, and he's going to have to make an executive decision here. All
this stuff that we've talked about in the first half hour, and LSU still has a chance to achieve all the goals that they want. They can get to the SEC championship. Obviously, they'd have to beat Alabama, and they'd have to go unblemished. But I guess what I'm saying is we've got 6 chapters of the book. Last year, this year, you remember what we were all saying after the Tennessee game? LSU was 4-2, just got their butts handed to them. Sorry, Jack, you fumbled a kickoff, and the rest went downhill in that game. But you remember how that quarterback from Tennessee lit up LSU. You can change it very quickly. It's got to start Saturday, and I think Pete came in to tie the dots. Pete came in to get basic fundamentals like lining up next to that guy and going and busting somebody. Mason Smith was at the nose guard, out of position. That's the best we've seen him. Does he duplicate that game this weekend the way he played in the second half?
I think they do. I really think
I'm talking about zero. Does Mason Smith have another sack and act like the guy we thought he was going to be from the day one?
I think he's going to have a good game.
I hope so too.
I just, for whatever reason, I've got a feeling about this game. Thank you for that, Brandon. Big time. American Patriot with a super chat again. Mike, about a year ago, I told you were missing out on a great kicker from Lafayette, Peyton Woodring. He just won an award at Georgia as a freshman. Man, I think Ramos is doing a good job. Obviously, the only thing is if you're needing a long one, you need a 50 plus. Are you going to get what you need?
Well, they tried the 54 the other day, or 55. He came up a yard short, basically. Oh, by the way, that was a controversy from some Tiger fans in that 28-yarder. But look, this is one of those things about, do you offer a kicker and a punter a scholarship? And here it is. This was once again, a guy that was a walk-on that's got the job. So,
yeah, I look, you got the kid coming in from North Louisiana, and Burrell and Chris Saylor and those guys had him as the number 1 kicker in the country. And so I'm hoping to see him we went to film him last year in the playoffs, and he wasn't playing. He had an injury or something. And but I'm hoping to get to see him in person. Thank you for that, American Patriot. Chris Melder. Mike, it seems our DBs are being taught to face guard and not to even attempt to find the ball. What are your thoughts on this? Because it's legal in college football, and you absolutely do it. And
I was waiting for this. When are they going to teach them to turn around?
Well, you would like for them to turn around, but face guarding is legal, and so it's effective.
But if you're looking at that wide receiver's eyes, and he's all of a sudden getting ready to put his hands up, and you're running this way, you got to turn around and bat the ball or intercept it. But by the way, Auburn, on some of the games I've watched, I don't know how much Auburn you've watched, but I haven't watched much. But boy, one of the games I watched, they were horrific on offense. Ashford is their running quarterback. He's going to give them trouble. Thorne from Michigan State has not been as impressive. They do have a good running back, but for the most part, you would hope that LSU would start.
Well, so far, most unimpressive quarterbacks have looked great against LSU.
Well, look, I'll just tell you this. If you're in Missouri, please, if you're an LSU fan, go buy that offensive coordinator a lunch, dinner, and dessert. Luther Burden had 86 yards in the first 3 catches. He didn't score a touchdown.
Rob Boudreaux says, is it effective? Not for us. That's absolutely true.
What's that?
Face guarding. Yeah, nothing's been effective. I get it. Dane Bergeron with a super chat. LSU needs better player evals and recruiting and stop star chasing. LSU has a 5-star DB that should be playing at ULL. There you go. Salty, Dane.
Boy, Snake.
I like it. Thanks.
I gave Snake a shout out on the show today.
Thanks for that, Dane. Eric DeLion, any of you make it out to the LSU Open baseball practices? No, but I was about to look at the schedule today. I want to try and get out there at some point just to get photos and get some video. I see a lot of home runs so far. I remember last year they didn't have too many because of great pitching. Should I be a little worried?
No.
I don't have an opinion on that.
It's irrelevant what a baseball player at LSU is doing in October right now. Worry about that in January, February.
Yeah.
It's too long a season.
But look, if you're going out there on a Sunday, I mean, Sundays they're open if they're out there and they're going to be, I think one of their scrimmages are beautiful. If it's beautiful weather like this past Sunday, that's a great time to go out there and see them, even though it is football season.
A lot more pitching coming in this week, this year.
Yeah. Mark J. at Chris Miller, they are being taught to let the receiver catch the ball, then try to rip it out. I would love to see a well-defended pass at least once. I'll take a pass interference at this point. I get it.
Yeah, I don't know if they're taught to let them catch the ball and then strip it, but we do know that certainly they have given up a lot of big plays, and I'm just, call me naive or crazy or whatever. I'm thinking that House and Pete are going to get these guys, and we talk about it, Mike, trust and communication. If your coach tells you something's going to happen and it happens, you're going to believe him. There hadn't been a lot of belief the first 6 weeks with the players and the coaches. Let's hope that they can get on the same page.
Barry Barbie, expect a game to be close, low scoring until about 8 o'clock left in the fourth quarter. Then LSU will put a little distance.
So many crazy games with Auburn.
That could be. I mean, Auburn can't play defense, but I tend to think LSU is going to be clicking this Saturday night and home after they've been out 2 weeks. We'll see. And Rick says, what's the weather looking like for Saturday night, Mike? Have you looked at it?
I did. 80 high, 52 low. I think it's probably going to be in the 70s. And I could have a shower Friday sometime, but looking good for tailgating. And 5 of the last 6 back at home. LSU's won 8 straight Saturday night. In case you missed it, Army is also going to be a night game. 6:30 on the SEC network. Joe Testator, not one of my favorites. But RG3, baby, if you don't call another game for LSU this year, I'm not saying you're Gary Danielson stage at this point, but RG3 has had some crazy comments.
Well, we get Jordan Palmer. I guess he just wrapped up with the Golden Bachelor. He does that on Mondays.
Rogers?
Yeah. We'll see.
Katie George does a good job on the sidelines, but look, Joe Testator can. Let
me tell you something. After RG3, Testator is a breath of fresh air.
He can be a drama queen now.
All right, let's hear from Brittany at Drip IV, and boy, they've got it going over there. And let's hear from what she has to say.
Hi everybody, we're so excited to share the news that both our Lafayette and our Baton Rouge location are offering semaglutide for weight loss. If you or someone you know are interested in our medically assisted weight loss program with semaglutide, call Kylie in Lafayette or myself in Baton Rouge. We'd love to speak with you.
They've got it all for you over at Drip IV. Easy to get to, of course, right there at the corner of Perkins and Essence and Perkins Crossing by Iverstein Farms in Tsushiyama. Give them a call, 225-256-3634. Starting next week, they're going to be open on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. If you need an IV, if you've gone out and maybe had too many adult beverages and feeling dehydrated, or you have a hangover, get over there and get your IV. but right now semaglutide is the hot item. Everybody is using it to lose weight. The weight has fallen off. A bunch of friends of mine who are utilizing it. And so if you've been struggling to lose weight, maybe you heard of the weight loss injections from a friend or a family member, this is your sign to check it out at Drip IV. Medically assisted weight loss with semaglutide at both their Baton Rouge and Lafayette locations. Call them at 225-256-3634. And please, absolutely tell them you heard about them on TigerBait. And if you're getting an IV drip, they're going to give you $10 off your first drip. And Lafayette, off Ambassador, Cordoba, off of Ambassador Caffrey, the first medical office building on the right. Drop in and check them out. Walk-ins are welcome. And tell them you heard about it again on TigerBait. All right, let's get to some more of your comments. And we got a big crowd in here. Again, if you're enjoying the show, please hit that like button and share. Let's see here. Mac, when can you remember that we can't tackle this late in the season? That's typically an early season issue.
I think it's a good point. Mike, we talk about fundamentals. That's where Pete Jenkins is coming in. I think he's probably going to be able to give them some fundamentals, and that starts about tackling and pad level and using your legs and not lunging and trying to make that high hit where you talk smack. I had a lot of people griping the last couple of weeks about they're giving up this much yardage, and yet as soon as they make a tackle for a 3-yard gain, they're all walking around like they did something. Hey, by the way, if you haven't seen all the accolades on offense, the offense is even better than the defense is bad, and it's made for a fun team. But I asked you this, when did you think LSU was going to beat Missouri? And you said when Major Burns scored.
Yeah.
It was because, folks, we said it, and I know you believe us.
For most of that game, buddy, I was thinking we're about to have another
this was
barn burner. We're about to have a post game that, and then all of a sudden, they got it to go. But here's one. Eric DeLion, Mike, in the next press conference you go to, can you please ask Coach Kelly, does he intend to hire a new defensive line coach before the first sign period? See, that's the problem, Eric. We don't know what Jimmy Lindsey's situation. We have no idea. And that's a very sensitive issue. It's not you don't take that lightly. You're talking about a man and his livelihood and who's fighting through a serious issue. How far along is he? Could he be there at spring football? We don't know that. I think they want to give him every chance to be the guy, but we really don't know. I've heard a lot of speculation, but we don't know what that situation is. But at some point, I think, unfortunately for Brian Kelly, he's going to need to give an answer to recruits, because it's not just the defensive linemen, the high school kids that he hopes to finish with in his class, but typically your best portal kids that we've seen are in your December portal period. Man, you want to be able to have an answer for what that's going to be for the third week in December.
Well, I had the same mindset, Eric, but I would have phrased the question like this. Do you think the situation with Coach Lindsey and defensive line, the history, has it impacted and affected recruiting? And that indirectly ask him, hey, I know it's a sticky situation, but is it affecting recruiting? And if it is, how do you plan to fix it? But
here's the thing. The history of LSU's offensive line has been not good. That's not even an issue anymore.
No.
So I don't know that the history of how many defensive line coaches leading up to Kelly makes a difference. That's just an unfortunate. That's just life. Life happened, and but it's they've got to have a solution for it. And I don't know at what point he says, look, I need to know something or have an idea of how this is going to play out. So we'll see. Bruce Steele with a super chat, rip across the face of blockers and get in the hole.
Yeah, a little physicality.
Rick Loetti with a super chat. No comment, Rick, if I missed it or repost. But absolutely thank you for that. There it is. Mike and Buddy, can we jump out to a fast start and make Auburn play catch up? They can't. That's ideal. I mean, Hugh Freeze flat out told you, and that's what a lot of teams are going to want to do. That's what Arkansas did. Look at the how that first quarter went against the Hogs. What else you have won? Seemed like they only had one possession. They got their second possession with a few minutes left in the first quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all going to want to do that. But if LSU comes out clicking immediately and Daniels is on fire, that's going to make it tough on some teams. And if this defense gets better and this defensive line starts to do what we thought they could do in the preseason, then look out, because you only need a few more stops a game, and LSU can win every game left on the schedule.
Hey, by the way, in case you missed it, Charles Turner got hurt. I thought this was an excellent situation. Marlon Martinez came in, got the first shot at center. He hadn't played. He was the center all through spring when Turner was out with an injury. Had a couple of high center snaps. Once they had one down by the goal line, where it cost them. In fact, I think on that possession, they ended up missing the short field goal. DJ Chester, true freshman, came in, and he probably will be the starting center next year. They like Paul Mubinga. Injury situation, Chris Hilton looks to be out with the high ankle sprain, and everybody else is probable. Aaron Anderson, Omar Spates, and the rest of the guys that have been a little bit gimpy. But for the most part, Mike, been pretty injury-free, and we'd love to see Aaron Anderson become a little bit more of what we saw him in fall camp when he was running without any hesitation and making cuts. I know people have said, oh, you guys sold this guy and he hadn't done diddly squat, but
man, I want to see more Mason Taylor catching the ball. But when Brian Thomas,
thank you, Coach Jim Brock, he got him in the end zone.
Yeah,
he can score every game if they.
But when Brian Thomas is done what he's done and is and him and Neighbors together nationally, look, we keep saying we want to see more Caleb Jackson, but look at Logan Diggs, leading. Is he number one in the SEC? Is that right?
Yeah, number one in the SEC yardage. Per game. 6 yards to carry, four touchdowns. Logan Diggs has not lost a yard this year rushing, and once again, all of the stats. Brian Thomas Jr. leading the country with 9 touchdown receptions, and Malik Neighbors second in the country with yardage at this point.
Thank you, Rick. Big time. Brandon Greer with a super chat. Mike, what is your biggest worry about Auburn's offense? And do you honestly think JD5 can keep on pace of what he's getting close to? I don't have any worries about Auburn's offense. Again, I talked to an Auburn insider today who's covered that beat for 25 years. And the way they describe the Auburn offense is the way we've been describing LSU's defense.
Yeah.
There's no worries there. But look, man, Auburn, no matter when they play LSU or Georgia or Alabama, when they're an underdog, they've been known to get it done. And but I don't think it's this weekend. I just don't. I think this is going to be a big, fun night in Tiger Stadium.
If they give up 450 to Auburn, then this defense is got a long way to go.
Yeah, thank you for that super chat. There's one down here I wanted to get to. Here it is. Guy Brooks, JD5 is the real deal. His performances will continue to be great. Burrow got better each game during the 2019 season. I like what you said earlier, that it's almost the 2018 and 2019 seasons for Burrow, and what Daniels has done in 22 and 23, the trajectory of both of them. It's kind of similar. Very good. Nobody expecting a whole lot, although I think Jaden might have a little bit more preseason hype coming in this season than Burrow did in 19.
Sure.
But man, this is if he continues this each and every week, and I think he's going to keep getting a little bit more and more Heisman hype. I mean, This is a 6 p.m. game on ESPN. I mean, every time they play, that LSU Alabama is going to be a CBS night game, right?
All right. Well, we think it is, but look, 19
I mean,
touchdown passes.
you got a real chance. Even if LSU is a 2 or 3 loss team, you can win a Heisman Trophy with a winning game in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, 19 passes for touchdowns, 2 INTs. He's fumbled once on that big hit against Ole Miss. 440-something yards rushing, 4 rushing touchdowns. He's accounted for 23. Almost 2,000 yards passing. He actually has a chance to have a 4,000-yard passing and 1,000-yard rushing. I don't think they want to run him too much at the back end because you know how important he is. But once again, the biggest shock to me is after he got beat up. And oh, by the way, ref, get the whistle out of your butt, your mouth, whatever. He gets hit late in the end zone and there's no flag. Okay? So Missouri got away with a lot of late hitting stuff. That son of a gun, after get injured, still had the coconuts to run it in from 35 and help to win the game. He's as tough as Burrow. I'm ready to say now, Jaden Daniels will get a trip to New York if they can go unblemished and beat Bama. But I think right now, if he stays healthy, you're looking at your SEC Offensive Player of the Year if he duplicates what he's done the six.
I think he's a high draft pick. And as far as him as an individual, I think he's going to be a great ambassador for LSU in the years to come.
Absolutely.
I mean, when I look around the NFL, he can absolutely. All the throws that everybody said that he couldn't make last year, he's making them this year. I saw, what is it, PFF? What's they gave him a deal today. His accuracy percentage, nobody's better in the country.
Yeah, he's and of course, like you mentioned earlier, now that Mason Taylor, that low run pass option and dump off to Mason Taylor is going to be there. And you got to, hey, we said this. We asked a question: does Brian Thomas Jr. know how good he can be? And he is.
I think he's feeling it now.
Oh, he's feeling it.
I think he knows. Yeah.
And Malik Neighbors is some tough cookie. Over 700 yards in 6 games. Both those guys averaging over 100 yards receptions per game. And people want to see it. You agree with me, though? I don't think it's a factor this game. But when you're going up against a Missouri, when you're going up against an Ole Miss, you like the fact that I said, let's play a little bit shorter game and run that clock. You saw him running the clock at times because that's one of the best helps that you can give the defense is not to be on the field from defensive standpoint. So, but you and I both want to see a couple more running backs. So otherwise, Diggs is going to get gimpy, and then Frank will say, well, you guys told us to play Diggs.
Brad David with a super chat. What is y'all's honest take on RG3 on the broadcast? I don't like it. I don't like him. I just don't.
Some of the references have been over the top. Obviously, he's a guy that's played and knows a lot of football, but yeah, I would say probably what would you give him?
Here's the thing. I like him, but I don't like him on a broadcast.
Yeah. Well, you give him a 5, 6 out of 10?
A 3 or a 4.
Okay. I'm going to give you a 5.5 RG3. He's going 3.5.
I mean, there's some things he doesn't need to say. Sometimes you don't have to talk. I mean, some of these guys need to go watching some Al Michaels and some, and really learn from some of the masters. Sometimes silence is golden. Yeah. All right, let's pay a few bills, and we're going to go a little while tonight. Alumni Hall, guys, get over there and see them. Tiger fans, you want to show your LSU Tiger pride. Alumni Hall is your ultimate shopping experience, the best and largest selection of apparel for the whole family. They are loaded down with all the quarter zip pullovers, all the Nike sweatshirts, all the stuff that you're going to see the coaches wear when it gets a little breezy and cool. They've got it all in stock right there in Perkins Row. Nike Golf Champion, Columbia, Peter Millar, Southern Tide, hats, Yeti gifts, and accessories. LSU students, faculty, and military receive 10% off in-store every day. You can earn cash back with their Hall Pass rewards. Alumni Hall located in Perkins Row or anytime at alumnihall.com. Alumni Hall, where Tiger fans shop. And my good buddy Tim DeSell over Koala Insulation. give them a call as well at 225-457-1001 to schedule your free energy efficiency assessment. The team at Koala Installation of Baton Rouge are your residential and commercial energy efficiency experts. The approaches Koala provides not only will help you reduce energy bills and maintain a more comfortable living environment, but can also help you reduce airborne allergens, water condensation issues, wear and tear on your HVAC system, and even lengthen the life of your roof shingles. The Koala team provides existing homeowners with a doctor's diagnosis of your home's energy efficiency and can offer several strategies to help you stay more comfortable and save money on energy bills all year long. Tell them you heard about them on TigerBait. Call 225-457-1001, and you're going to get 7% off your project if you say TigerBait. Tim DeSells, big LSU fan, and they did fantastic work in my house. All right, guys, let's get to some more of your comments. Dan Bergeron with a super chat. Mike, it's not that JD couldn't make the throws last year. He wouldn't. Yep, and that's another thing that people dinged him on, holding on to it. He's not doing that anymore. Happy to see him have the year he is having. RG3 needs to find another job.
Really fits the profile. I mean, he's a former player and he does have experience, but I think he does say some things over the top just to get a little bit of attention.
Thank you for that super chat, Dane. Fire 3449, Mike. I know your affinity for Breck. The city of Slidell just spent $2 million on 8 new tennis courts and a softball stadium. Okay. 8 new tennis courts. They probably should have done 16 pickleball courts based on that pickleballs is the thing that everybody wants right now.
Yeah.
You could put, I'm assuming you can do 16 pickleball courts where you could do 8 tennis. Chris Melder, Mike, Ron Brooks was recruited as a wide receiver. Is there anyone in that receiver room that could make that transition? I have not. I've not seen that.
We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. How's Preen being say Kai Preon? What's his
Preon?
He's a guy that hasn't played as a wide receiver that you get a look see. But look, you got Kai Bates and Juwan Johnson and all those guys coming in. I
They've
think
got some talent. McBride. I'm telling you, I think every one of those, multiple of those guys can come in and play.
I drove by LSU before the show, folks, real quick. Denver Harris, I saw him coming out of a place. There was a big sign, Doghouse, and then a Deuce Chestnut was in a building that said timeout. So those are two.
What's
corners.
the word on him? Said in a week or two we're going to know the final outcome.
Obviously, he did some things that they didn't approve of, and so
that didn't sound too good.
You know, this happened with Denver earlier, and Denver came back. We thought he might get booted, but they are trying to change the culture. You can't do it with the snap of the finger. But I know a lot of people said, "Oh, Chestnut can't play." I thought he could tackle and do something in the slot, but those two guys have also, because they have not panned out the way we thought, Mike, have made this problem a little more, in the limelight, unfortunately.
Emperor Palpatine with a super chat. Emperor Palpatine. With a name like that and doing super chats, that wouldn't surprise me if that wasn't Jacques Doucet, would be in a Star Wars character. But I'm just making that up. Can the LSU defense improve enough to win out, or is it too late? No, it's not too late. Again, I don't think the LSU defense has to be like the 2003 LSU defense or some of the better years where LSU's had insane defense. They just need to get to below average or middle of the road. And with what this offense is doing, it's not going to take much.
You're going to have to outscore people, and you're going to have to outscore Alabama. Auburn, look, if you struggle with Auburn, and you and I both predicting them to cover the spread and win, Army does not have the traditional triple option. Their quarterback is about 4 or 5 yards behind the center now, but still some triple option philosophy. You got the open date, Alabama, and then you finish up with Florida, Georgia State, and Texas A&M. Max Johnson, one thing that he's very good, but he does hold the football too long. That's one of the things to me that Jaden's done the best job releasing it, like Snake said. He held on to it. Now he's releasing it. And some of these windows and buckets as he laid the football in, pretty impressive, folks.
Thank you for that, Emperor Palpatine. Todd Davis, remember last year, Greg Brooks with the game-saving interception. He just took it away from the Auburn player. May God bless Greg Brooks. Absolutely. We talk about all the struggles. I mean, that was a big blow to LSU. I mean, Greg Brooks is, your leader back there.
Took it away from Coy Moore, who played for LSU for a year.
Yeah, and I was looking at their depth chart. I meant to go look at the participation, what his stats are. I'm not seeing where he's doing much.
By the way, you can donate to that fund for Greg Brooks. Go to lsusports.net, and they will let you get all the information on that. I know, Mike, it's over 6 figures. You mentioned going to Memphis. All of us in the LSU Nation certainly wishing him a speedy recovery and just getting health. We're not worried about whether he can come back and play football. We just want him to have a healthy life after this.
Here's the thing. The offensive line is playing great. RG3 is an acquired taste, but there are a lot of analysts that are over the top. Here's the thing about RG3. He is a likable guy. And he's a young broadcaster. He's just, 2 years removed from football. He's got every chance to get better. I mean, 8 years ago, I didn't like Greg McElroy. And I think now McElroy is one of the better ones out there.
I agree.
It takes time. I'm
it does.
not ready to say he's going to be a failure. He's highly intelligent, and I think he's going to get better over time. I'll give him that.
And look, guess what? He's getting interest on this show.
I mean, who liked Greg McElroy?
No, it's a great point. It's a great point.
McElroy's one of the better ones now.
Hey, quick story. Les Miles has gone to the SEC network, and this was early on with McElroy and Les, and he kind of gave him a little smart-ass comment and question about Alabama and all that. And Les looks at him and goes, "Hey, Greg, nice pro career you had." And so at that time, we were all going, "Yeah, Les." But I think McElroy's done a fantastic job. That's a great point you make. Now, RG is going to get better with time.
I mean, our message boards used to rip McElroy, and now, he's put in the work, man. He's posting content every day, why is it he used to do a ton of LSU games? We haven't seen him yet this year, have we?
And I think that's the thing about RG3. Back-to-back weeks was probably a little bit too much for everybody.
Yeah. So,
Laura Rutledge is still, I can watch her all day long, and I always enjoy the SEC stuff, which she does.
Is Osbury getting any playing time for Auburn? Asked Scooby 70611. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I have not seen that.
I have not. In fact, I did not see him in the depth chart. We'll look that up.
I will find out and look. Like Buddy said earlier, I saw a little bit of the Georgia game, but I have not seen a lot of Auburn this year. I have not. So, all right, guys. Thanks, everybody. Tune in. Hit that like button if you haven't already, if you enjoyed the show. And please hit the subscribe button, notification bell. Lots of recruiting on the front page of TigerBait. We got the recruiting list up there and more coming to be added to it. And multiple recruiting updates and exclusive footage we've shot. I've got more being posted tomorrow, and we're heading out. We've got a lot of high school football Friday night to go out and check out. So we've got more. We're going to be in 3 high school stadiums Friday night. And so me and Preston will be here for the post game Saturday night. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. And thanks for Buddy Songy for joining us again this week. All right, everybody. Good night.